Okay, so hello and welcome. My name is Katie. I am the sales and marketing executive for ProNotary. In case you are new here, we are a remote online notarization software um, that allows for white labeling. We are specifically uh, perfect for law firms and title companies. And today, what I wanted to go over is common objections that you will find for when you are introducing remote online notarization, either to different offices or to individuals. So a little bit of a background is that I've been doing this for about 3 years to introduce remote online notarization to different offices and people. Um, and typically there is going to be the same conversations that you might have with clients over and over again about some of the questions, excuse me, sorry, about some of the questions or concerns that they might have for these types of notarizations. The first one that is always the elephant in the room is that there is more fraud with remote online notarization. Now, if you've been here for a while, you will know that I argue that there is less fraud in remote online notarization. Um, and that is where it comes in handy to really know some of the background of what ProNotary does as far as helping the notary feel a little bit more secure and also helping the client protect their information and their identity. So let's go into it. There's two main things that you want to know when you are doing remote online notarizations as far as what they go through, and that is two-factor authentication. So as your clients are going through the process, they are going to have to basically um, prove that they are who they say they are. And there's a couple different factors that go into it. It's universal that each state requires that the signer go through two-party factor authentication. The first one is always going to be the ID verification. So that is when you ask the client or when the software asks the client to hold up the ID, the front and the back, if it is a driver's license, or just a good clear photo of your passport, depending on what the client has, for the ID verification. At that point, what they do is either hold it up to their camera or hold it up to their phone. In general, we recommend that you hold it up to the camera just because the cameras usually have a clearer image than some of these older PCs or laptops. So that is something to think about when you are going through some of these objections, is sometimes they're like, oh, my client can't get through it. One of the ways you can handle that objection is that if they can upload a check into a banking system, they can do the ID verification on this platform. Um, so the other thing that you want to go ahead and think about is the second part of two-factor authentication. Now, this is going to be state specific. So if you're in a biometric state, then you have the ability to do the secondary as a biometric screening, which is a face scan. At that point, once they do the face scan, they would have them move to the right and the left. That looks for deep fakes, that looks for different factors that are security factors on the back end to make sure that that person matches the ID. So that biometric face scan is a secondary form of authentication. Now, if you are in a state that does not allow biometrics, that's going to be your second option, which is always going to be what you need to do, which is knowledge-based authentication. So knowledge-based authentication is also known as KBA. So if you are someone that is new and you get asked, are you going to do this via KBA or biometrics? One, it depends on the state that you're in. So if biometrics isn't available, you only have knowledge-based authentication questions available. And then also it depends on um, let's say it's the title company or the law firm. on what they want. So obviously we want to cater to our clients as notaries. So we allow you to do that within the platform as well, to be able to choose if they are going to do the biometrics, or if they are going to do the knowledge-based authentication questions. So for knowledge-based authentication questions, I'm just going to give you a little bit of an overlay. The software will ask for the signer's information as far as the name, the address, and then also the social security number. And that reasoning is because we are going to be pulling from public information questions that typically only the person that has that social security number should know. So if you've ever logged on to a DMV and they ask you, if you have been associated with any of these addresses, or what was your zip code back in, this time period, or what was the color of your car, for your BMW X5, what was the color? So it's those types of specific questions, and that is all the factors that will help reduce fraud. The general hope is that if there is a fraudster, they're not going to know that information. The also general hope is that if there is a fraudster, they're not going to have the driver's license. And then the general hope is that if they are doing fraud, they're not going to, they're not going to be able to do the biometrics face screening. So all of those factors also do help with reduction of fraud, because if you do think about it for in person, the only way that you have those types of fail safes is the physical notary looking at the physical document in front of them. So that is something to think about. The next form of protection that remote online notarization does have is that the notary still does do the physical inspection of the ID. So with ProNotary, once you have them go through the ID verification phase, we do provide an image of the actual ID that was used. So whether it be a passport, driver's license, or state issued ID, and then you would compare it against the person that is in the video. So if you are brand new to this, you will be able to see within the notarization session the document, yourself, and then also any of the signers or witnesses that are on this Zoom, recording with you. So it's like Zoom and DocuSign combined on a secure platform where the signers upload their information, and then everybody signs at the same time. So it looks like that, and then within the software, we allow you to check the ID. So the notary always has to still check the ID to match it against that person in front of them, and then also that the documents match the name that is on the ID. So the last thing is that everything is recorded. So we allow the notary to start the recording for when they are basically ready to start the notarization process. But if you are a fraudster, I don't know they would necessarily want your fraud to be videoed for the entirety of the entire, notarization session. So those factors are all things that you want to be able to kind of talk to your clients if they do say, oh, like there's more fraud. I don't know that I would necessarily go into the diatribe that I just did. But in general, I do think that that has been helpful to be armed with that type of knowledge so that way you can educate your clients on the benefits of using remote online notarization. So it is not some big scary thing where there's always going to be fraud. There is always going to be security features that you have to do, or security checks that you do have to do to ensure that the client is being protected. So I hope that made sense. If you have any questions, you can always just raise your hands and then we can talk to them at the very end. But the next question or the next objection that most people will get is that they cannot figure out the tech, or the signers are, sometimes they're like, they're too old, they're not going to be able to figure that out. So one of that general feeling is that yes, sometimes it can be difficult to walk signers through the tech. I do understand that. But at the same time, it is very, very important to have a remote online notary business as a partner because you are most likely going to, or because these title companies are most likely going to encounter some sort of scenario, that remote notarization is the only option. And so whether it be a signer that is in a remote area in the Appalachian Mountains, or they are over in vacation in Italy. So there's going to be time frames where they're not going to be able to in person notarize these documents. And so that is why they need to at least entertain the idea of remote online notarization, so that way they can find a remote online notary or just, integrate it within their software stack, and then have a remote online notary on staff. So I do think that that is something that they are going to need in general, if not now, then eventually, because there is always going to be scenarios like that. But in general, as you go through our training program, it will show you how to walk signers through the entire process. We do have a sign-on guide as well that you can go ahead and just send over to your signers, that walks them through step by step, like, okay, click on this, then go here, upload your ID, click on this button. So it walks you through step by steps to make it very, very easy for them. But in general, what we also recommend is that you offer to do a mock demo for any of the clients that might be a little bit hesitant to pull the trigger on using remote online notarization. You can also see demos on our YouTube on what it looks like, how easy it is. What else? So yeah, the tech part of it is very easy. We also have a ton of different things that we give to our clients as resources for making the process for the signers easier. So it does take a little bit of prep work. It does take knowing how to do the notarizations from the signer's point of view. So if you are a new notary that is just signing up with us, make sure that you're doing the notarizations as the notary and notarizations as the signer, so that way you know how to walk your client through things. Because as simple as you might think that it is, there are the tech challenged people that need to be basically coached or guided through how to, it's like, okay, next go to this button and it should be yellow and it should say next, so just click that. So it does happen, but we want to get these notarizations to be completed as easy as possible. So the next objection that you will commonly get is that you have notaries in place. So if there are people that are marketing directly to people, you'll be able to see that they're going to say that they're already notaries, and then you would ask them if they're already remote notaries. In most cases, because this is not a very saturated market, they're going to say no. And then that is when you would come up with like, okay, well, that's perfect because I am. And if you ever need a remote notary for someone that is out of state or out of country, like, please take my information. So it's a little bit of a different objection handling. Same thing that you would say if they said like, oh, we just do mailaways. You would just say, okay, and how has that been working for you? And then at that point, usually they would say not very well. Sometimes they'll have horror stories. And then at that point, you would just say, okay, well, this is what it would look like to partner with me. I would be able to help you with those mailaways. This is the best way to contact me. This is how to book with me and everything like that. So that is what I wanted to go over today, is the common objections that you will typically get. There's not going to be a whole lot of times where once you start marketing to someone, they're going to be like, okay, yeah, here's 5 remote online notarizations that we need to do, and everything like that. So I wish that that would happen, but we're in a reality where it does take a while for these title companies or law firms to feel comfortable with both a new process and then also bringing another person or another potential partner in their business with in their business. So do you have any questions for me? Okay. Samantha raised your hand, so I'm gonna go ahead and hit allow to talk. So go ahead and ask whatever question that you may have.
Hi. I'm new to all of this and I'm
Mhm.
trying to get out there. I've like had business cards printed up. I've gone to title companies, I've gone to attorneys' offices. I didn't promote the Ron aspect of it. I'm trying to get out there. And
Mhm.
what I'm finding, and yeah, I'm not the most computer tech person. I'm learning but I can do this. So I mean, I'm learning as I go.
Yeah.
But I went online to like sign up with companies. At this
Uh-huh.
point, I don't even care how much I make. I just need to start doing it, you know?
Mhm.
And I'm
Mhm.
coming across scams left and right and people wanting money to be able to do notary work. And I was wondering, is there certain areas that I'm not going to or I'm not doing right like what would you advise me to do?
So, okay.
Does that make sense what I'm asking? I'm like,
Yeah.
DocuSign, how do you become a remote online with DocuSign or, you know,
So I don't, okay, so I will tell you that I don't think that you should sign up for any of the places that are trying to get money from you in order to get work. Um, because in general, you can either that or just I would look them up and vet them pretty significantly before you start doing, investing into places that might say that they are going to give you leads because there are reputable companies that sometimes do give you leads. But I feel like more often than not, they're not reputable. So just do your research because they are out there. But if they are out there and they're reputable, they will have enough information, so that way you feel comfortable. But I always advocate for going direct, which means, you'll get a bigger piece of the pie for your notarizations if you go directly to law firms, title companies, construction, anyone that would need remote online notarizations. Um, it just will take a little bit longer. Uh, the other thing that you can try is some of the signing services that should be free for you to get signed up with. So that would be and we don't endorse any specific company. This is just from me to you. Different companies that you can sign up with that I wouldn't pay any money for, which is like Signing Order, Notary Dash, Signature Closers, I think Jot, Closewise, all of those I don't believe charge you any money. And then you can sign up for them, fill out your information completely, and then you have the opportunity to sometimes get work sent to you. Does that make sense?
yeah, it
Okay.
does.
Did
S-
I?
You're saying like I could go to, which I guess does make sense. Any type of attorney would possibly need a remote online notary.
Yes. Yes. There's gonna be ones that will need you more often than not. I have not had a huge need, or like I've not seen a need for probate, but also at the same time, I just might not have marketed to enough probate office or law offices. And then, sometimes for law firms, they might say like, okay, well, I don't need notarizations, but the person that I went to, like law school with became a XYZ and he needs them all the time. Let me just make that introduction to you. Um, so yeah, I would just go to law firms.
Okay.
Family law, personal injury, estate planning, things like that. Within certain states, you have to be careful because estate planning isn't available online for every state. So you just have to do some research. But in general, I think construction, like all of those things I would try to do. So yeah, I would just walk in and be like, "Hey, I'm a remote online notary." They're gonna tell you no at first, but you just have to keep like it's a not yet, not a no. So you just have to kind of keep at it.
Okay. And construction companies too, you said, are now starting
Yeah,
to.
so that depends on states, but usually it's like notice of commencements or lien releases. So like let's say you're getting a house roof put on and I'm the construction person. I'm gonna put a lien on your roof until you pay me.
Right.
And so those typically needs to be notarized once you put that into the county and then once you release it to the county as the general contractor. Usually they need to, I mean, I know general contractors that need to notarize like 30 documents each month. Excuse me, sorry.
Mhm.
So it just depends on your state, but I would get in front of them and ask them what types of documents that needs to be notarized because sometimes residential construction needs way more, and then commercial, like they're like, no, we don't need you. So it's worth a conversation depending on the state.
Okay.
Okay,
All right. I appreciate your help. Thank you.
of course. All right. So and then also, Nita, go ahead and ask any questions that you may have.
Hi. Thanks for doing this. You had mentioned about practicing on the notary side and the signer side.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, ProNotary right now doesn't have a free try it out to see, to practice. At what point would you stop the session so there's not a charge?
So we do have a free month for if you first once you first sign up, and then that whole first free month is where we want you to do all of the mock sessions. So we do have the first, free
Is
month.
there an activation key for that? Because I had to re-sign. This was through Notary Stars, and there was a problem with the billing, so I actually had to um, my subscription was canceled and then they had to resubscribe me. So it's
Okay.
almost like I had to reboard, but everything was still in my account. So
Okay.
I'm assuming the 30 days would start from the second time, but how do you access it?
So if you signed up through a different company that's not directly through ProNotary, it would depend on how they structured it. So I would reach out to them just to kind of see. I think that we might not have the 30-day free trial for Notary Stars, but I would have
Yeah, I
like,
think you're right. I think you're right.
yeah.
So
So
it, go ahead.
in general, to be able to do the mock sessions, I just wouldn't do the ID verification. So have your client or like have your client skip the ID verification so that way that doesn't get, dinged. And then you should be able to just do the ID verification and then just don't hit terminate.
Don't hit terminate.
Yes, just exit out.
Okay. At what point though? When you're through doing the invitation signings and such?
Yes,
Okay. And so when you end, like, don't end the session, just get out of it.
correct.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right. Thank you.
you're welcome. Okay, so we have a couple more minutes. Do you guys have any other questions? Now's the perfect time. Okie dokie. So I am going to go ahead and end this unless someone raises their hand within the next couple of seconds while I'm talking. Okay, so otherwise, if you have any questions, excuse me, feel free to reach out. Feel free to sign up over at www.pronotary.com, and thank you so much.